Hi, welcome. It's time for my town hall and campaign update for this Wednesday. Sorry I lost track of time and it's now time. Anyway, let me fix myself a little bit. Welcome. So I'm back at the beginning. I'm in my home here in West Virginia, and I just want to say greetings. My name is Susan Maud Buchser-Lochocki. I am a candidate for the 2024 presidential election. I have not conceded the election because I have a lawsuit pending with the Supreme Court, and our election was filled with lots of fraud and manipulation, and it's unacceptable. So I'm hoping for a positive, I don't know what you call it, a positive result from my lawsuit, and then we might have a new election coming up, because how things went in the past election is unacceptable. And, taxation without representation is not acceptable. And that's what we have. Every day, all day long, we pay taxes. Whether it's through electricity, through gasoline, through going to a restaurant, or going grocery shopping, or going to the post office, we pay tax everywhere. And yet, many voices went unheard in this past election and in the election before that. And I mean, it's been going on for quite some time now. We have people who are narcissistic, who think that they know better than us, and they've taken over our country. It's called the Democrats and Republicans. And they are illegally controlling our country, and it's unacceptable. And it needs to stop. So I hope the Supreme Court is listening, and I hope they come forward and act on my lawsuit so that we can move forward and heal from this nightmare and become one country again. George Washington, he warned us about parties and how they might manipulate things, and that's exactly what's happened, sadly. Power corrupts, so it's actually what we really need to do before we even have a new election. We need to sit down and come up with a new constitution, because our three-ring government is not working. Not the way it is right now. Giving so much power to one person, being an idol worshiper, it's not necessary anymore. There were maybe a time, 250 years ago, when we were becoming a country where that was necessary. But that's no longer necessary. And the reason why it's no longer necessary is because there's just way too much power in that position. And there's way too much world sway for one idea that needs to be how can I say it? So to get to the presidency, and even in Congress, to get to those seats, there's so much manipulation and power involved that the Democrats and Republicans are not giving up their control. And they're using every illegal tactic under their belt as possible. And the sad part is they've made laws to make sure that the people can't change it. So sadly, I mean, it's almost as if we're going to have to, in this country that we supposedly created so that we wouldn't have to have any more rebellions, we're going to have to rebel, I think. It's unless the Supreme Court acts on my lawsuit. It's just insane that the Democrats and Republicans have so much power. and they're not letting anyone else in. Now, recently we've heard that Congress is coming up with some new ideas about elections and how to make them less fraudulent, and they're exactly following my plan. But we need to take the power away. No person should be so powerful that they can't walk down the street and feel safe without bodyguards. You know, government is just part of life. It's not the end all. And certain things don't need to be decided on a federal level, and certain things don't need to be decided on a local level. And we don't need heads, you know, we don't need narcissistic men in charge just so they can put their name on everything. It's not about being narcissistic. I mean, I don't think so. It shouldn't be. It should be about the people. It should be about taking care of our country and our land. But we've got a whole bunch of narcissists running it. And their way supposedly is better than everybody else's way. And they have actually no clue to what they're talking about. So narcissism is a huge problem in our government. And I mean, it's also in religion. And it's also even in the household. It's a big problem that needs to be addressed. We have a lot of people who are immature adults who never developed and never took responsibility for their actions. But yet they've been given all sorts of power, and for some reason, people are doing what they say. So, again, no one person, and certainly no narcissist, should have so much power. A country the size of our country should be run by a board of directors. And every year, one of the board of directors can take on the presidential duties. One board director is in charge of the military, one is in charge of the banking, one is in charge of the agriculture, one is in charge of education, and so on, and one is in charge of women's affairs, a women's league. It's time that mothers get paid for their important work. And so each year, one of those heads will be a presidential candidate, will be president. And therefore, then they only have power for a short time, and it's not even power. They're more a figurehead. So that's the year that they go around and they talk on behalf of the United States, and you know, it's more a people organized group rather than a kingdom, which is what we now have again. So yeah, we got to get back to the original preamble of the Constitution, where it says "we the people," and by every year having a new person be president, it's more representative of the different divisions of our country, whether it's, you know, education or military or whatever, economy, infrastructure, that sort of thing. And so it will have a more diverse presidential outlook and a more people represented in that role. Right now we have a king, and it's just, idol worship is not healthy anymore. There might have been a time where it was useful. It's not necessary anymore. It is time to move on and move to a board of directors being in charge of the country. And then every year, one of those board's directors will step forward and be the representative of the United States on the global arena, or for necessary moments where a presidential candidate or presidential person is needed. A leader is needed. But that way we have more leaders, and the power is spread out. It's not just with one person. And we're now seeing how tangled our three-ring circus is, how it's not really working. And there's lots of power in certain areas and not so much in others. So this is, there's no way to stop people legally from doing also damage or whatever they're doing. So anyways, Supreme Court, you need to act on my lawsuit. And then we need to come up with a new way of voting, which I think my way is very paper trail oriented, pen to paper. And it gives the citizens the information they need to move forward. And then we need to sit down and also have a group of people work on a new constitution. We need a reorganization of our government. It's broken. Is this... Yeah. What do I want to say? I guess this is really a rebellion also from me. And I guess that's the next step. We just need to come up with a new constitution. So I guess I need to think about who I might want on my list of people helping to write this new constitution. So maybe you want to put in the comments here who you think would be good at writing up a document about a new form of government. And we also don't need the House of Representatives anymore. People are intelligent. Our U.S. people, we're a developed country now. We have our borders. Some borders are better than others, but we have them anyways. And we have our borders. We're not constantly in war defining our borders. That's done now. So we can really use this time to readjust our government and put the power back to the people where it was supposed to be in the first place, because that's what the Constitution says. I don't think we need to change the beginning part of our Constitution. I think that's pretty clear. We, the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for a common defense, promote the general welfare, secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America. So, I do feel that Donald Trump is trying to expose the fraud from inside. So I do think he's actually working with us. Although he's slightly made some strange moves with putting flags at half-staff for a pope, for a religious leader. I think that's inappropriate for a country that's based on religious... there's no religion chosen by the government. So that declares for me something else. So that's a little bit unacceptable for me. But yeah, so What we don't need anymore is the House of Representatives. We do need sort of senators from every state to come together and talk, but then you, the people, become House of Representatives. You yourself are your own representative. And you will be asked to vote maybe 3 times a year on different topics. And yeah, it's time to get you involved. It's your country, your government, your state, your town. It's time to get you involved. There's actually nothing outside of your own life and your family that's more important than how you live your life on the earth. And that means you need to be involved in government. That's what government is all about. And, we've got so many regulations right now on so many things. It's impossible to get anything done. And there's more than one variety. So lately, I've been blocked many times from doing things because of the price of things. So I have a, how can I say this? I want to move a family onto a piece of land. And when I called up the health department there, they said that technically the rule is you have to have a certain size septic tank put in, and yeah, it has to be this size, whatever. And but then they said, but yes, on the other hand, you could hook up to the septic tank next to it, and maybe add like another drain off of that one, and that should be enough, because there's hardly anybody living in these houses, and if they're working all day, they're not even using the septic system. So it just doesn't make sense that you need to put in a whole septic system when you can feed off of the one next to you. But according to certain regulations that's on the books, that's technically what you have to do. But it's also would be okay and acceptable to do the other way, but it's not following the book. But yet again, then the last part of all of this is that you can also use compost toilets. So then if you're using a compost toilet, which is what you mainly use in the bathroom anyways, what's the point of putting a septic system in? So I think what we need to think about is maybe instead of making harsh rules that aren't necessary for every household, maybe it's best you call up the health department and you get advice. You tell them, maybe they come out and look, and they say, okay, this is how we're going to be using it, and this is what we want to do, and then you come up with an answer. But to make hard rules on things that are not necessarily so black and white, I don't think that's advisable. And everybody's needs are different, and everybody's wants are different. Some people don't want to use 2 gallons of water every time they flush a toilet. Some people want to conserve water. And so, by taking out the middleman of water and just going and relieving yourself in a bowl, even like they used to do 200 years ago, and then taking it out and dumping it far away, or dumping it into a compost area that then you have fertilizer later for. I don't see why that's not possible if the people choose to do that. So we need to really rethink this. Then also with like vehicles, I recently have to, how can I put it? So I have a vehicle that needs a replacement part. And the replacement part is extremely expensive. But yet there are used ones online that are not so expensive. So I don't understand why I can financially afford the used one. The not used one, so the brand new one, is quite expensive and really over my budget. But because where I went, they don't do the used one, you can only get the new one, I'm going to have to somehow make that happen financially. And, if it's difficult for me, what's it like for other U.S. citizens? So I think there has to be more flexibility in how things are done. These regulations and restrictions are really unacceptable and causing people to not get things done because they can't afford it, or I don't know. It's just somehow things are not working the way they should. And regulations are too extreme. I mean, I understand that certain things are needed when building a house, but even house building has so many different variations all over the world. And, people were building houses 200 years ago who didn't have degrees. So, there has to be less regulation and more flexibility. The one thing that we do want to take into consideration is it should not be poisonous for, or do harm to the people using it. So like in the case of a septic tank, does it have to be a certain size, truthfully, if hardly anybody is using it? So I think, health-wise, we're not living back in the dark ages anymore. We're not living in big cities. I mean, where I'm living, I'm not living in a big city. So what works in the cities is not necessary outside of the cities. In the cities, you do have more people, so then you have to do things a certain way. On the other hand, there could be, down the street, a local sewage dump area where if you want to not use water to flush your toilet, you should be able to. You shouldn't be able to save those 2 gallons every time you go to the bathroom, and you should be able to walk down the street with your waste and dump it into or maybe every building should have like a dump zone for that option, depending on the size of the building. There's got to be more flexibility. Being tied to these public works that are really private works, like a water company or electric company or sewage company, it's too restrictive. People can be safe and cleanly without running water all the time. What's wrong with using rainwater? That's also illegal in some places. Or there are regulations against it in some places. But that's water. So, anyway, we have some deregulations to do and some real choices to do. It's time for the towns and the people, sort of health departments, to be involved with the people and not be this like big sort of organization off in the distance that nobody knows anything about. It should be more involved with everything because our health is important. But the biggest problem is we've got so many people used to lying and power-hungry narcissists that they make these rules, but they don't follow them themselves. That's the first problem. You know, the rules are made for other people. But then we have, instead of having real communication between like the health department and a builder, or health department and the user, the person staying in the apartment or house, instead of having that conversation, we just make rules and regulations, which is not human friendly. It's, you know, just not really humane. And it's a generality that then everybody has to adhere to. It doesn't make sense. So what we need to do is work with the health department when we develop different areas. But we don't need laws and regulations about it. We do need people working together for the common better of all. We need to change our mindset from this me, aren't I great sort of thing, to we are great together. That's where the real problem lies. Because it's, these rules are for you, I have different ones, and I'm better than you. And it doesn't work anymore. I don't know why that happened that way. It seems that a lot of men need to put their name on everything so that they feel good, I guess. But feeling good can come from helping others and working together with other people. So, USA, local townships, mayors, health departments, it's time to work together for the common good of the people. You know, I mean, the health department, one thing you can do is tell the farmers to stop putting fake color dyes into their red onions that are actually brown onions that have been dyed red. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. The fraud has to stop. And sadly, fraud and being allowed stems from these. The one place where there is flexibility is in Christianity, actually. Because there you're free to do whatever, and then you just have to confess your sins. And then Everything is great. You say your 5 Hail Marys and 2 Our Fathers, and you're done. You're absolved of all your sin of whatever you did if you put food coloring into your brown onions to make them red. It's okay. So we don't need regulations because they're not working. What we need are human beings that are honest, that have integrity and do the right thing. That's what we need. People who do the right thing. People with integrity. We don't need people being absolved from sins, because that doesn't stop them from putting food coloring into food. So we got some work in front of us, USA. And it starts with our leaders. And it starts with the people we admire. It starts with integrity. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know what I'd talk about today, but I ended up talking about everything. So it's a little bit an everything bagel type of town hall campaign update. All right. I don't really have more to say at this time. So, Supreme Court, I call on you to have integrity. You know what I wrote in this current lawsuit that's with you and my previous one. Just read it. You see it all. You see where all the problems are. And there are even more. I've discovered, the other problem is they need a quorum to make the vote valid. So if they have, we definitely don't have a quorum for any election if we use the population size of voters, legal voters. So then they came up with this thing called registering to vote, so that they at least could make a quorum sometimes, but not even there. And that's why they have then the fake names. Because where places where not enough people vote, then they have to make people vote. They have to pretend people voted. So that's what they're doing. And our vote never gets counted, really. It's really whatever, who's in charge, whatever they think is the right one. Again, it's that narcissistic attitude. I know more than you. I'm better than you. You're going to do what I say. That's the attitude. So they have already the person they want in office, and there's no going to be anything else that happens. So it's called taxation without representation. Shame on you, Democrats and Republicans. It's time to end this BS and have real elections and a real government that cares about the people and not about their own pockets for once. I've had enough. The American people have had enough. We're done with your BS. So, integrity. Supreme Court. You've heard it. It's enough. Okay, thank you for stopping by. My name is Susan Maud Buchser-Lochocki, or Susan Buchser for short. I was running for president last year. Now I am simply still a candidate for president from last year, because last year's election was fraudulent. I am still available. I have not conceded. And I will not concede to a fraudulent election. My vote, my U.S. citizen vote, was not counted. Shame on them. So, anyway, if you want to find out more about me and my lawsuit, go to my website, susan4usa.com. That's Susan, the number 4, USA.com. And, I'm on YouTube and Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Facebook is where I'm most active, right here, where I'm doing this live, and LinkedIn also. So if you want to look me up some more, you can go to all those places. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're watching this on YouTube or even on Facebook or wherever you are. Join me. Integrity is what's missing. We don't have integrity anymore as a country. Okay, so thank you. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.